The walls were the same. The fountain still flowed. The home still smelled like polish and quiet wealth. But Malcolm had changed. He wasn't returning to power. He was reclaiming agency. His mother called that evening. Her voice was controlled. "The lawyers are making this messy." "You made it messy when you lied in my name," Malcolm replied. "We were protecting the family brand." "By stealing my access?" he asked. "That's not brand protection. That's breach of trust." She sighed, the sound heavy. "You're tearing us apart." Malcolm's voice softened, but didn't bend. "No. I'm tearing apart a system that thought it could own me." Silence. Then she said quietly, "What do you want?" Malcolm didn't answer immediately. He looked at Ariana, who nodded once, steady, grounded. "I want written boundaries," Malcolm said. "I want no one acting on my behalf without consent. I want my assets off the family trust. And I want my marriage respected." Another pause. "You're asking for separation," his mother said. "I'm asking for clarity," Malcolm replied. "There's a difference." That night, a second article dropped, shorter, sharper. "Reed Heir regains access after legal review." The comments were split. Some defended family unity. Others called out control disguised as care. Malcolm didn't read them. He stood on his balcony with Ariana, the city glowing below. "Do you feel like you won?" she asked gently. "No," Malcolm said. "I feel like I stopped losing." And that changed everything. The meeting wasn't at the family estate. It was at a neutral space, an upscale private lounge inside a luxury hotel downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Soft jazz. A place designed to look calm while difficult things were said. Malcolm arrived with Ariana. His mother was already there. Terence sat stiffly beside her. Uncle Raymond stood near the window, pretending to admire the skyline. No greetings. No hugs. Just quiet tension dressed in expensive fabric. Malcolm took a seat across from them. Angela sat beside him, not to speak, just to be present. His mother broke the silence. "We didn't raise you to treat family like enemies," she said. Malcolm's voice was steady. "You raised me to work hard and think clearly. I'm using both." Terence leaned forward. "You blindsided us with lawyers and press." "You blindsided me with forged authority and locked gates," Malcolm replied. "We're even." Raymond finally turned from the window. This never had to leave the family. Malcolm met his eyes. Then it never should have crossed into fraud. The word hung heavy. His mother inhaled sharply. "We were scared." Malcolm paused. "Of what?" "That you were slipping away," she said quietly. "You stopped asking for advice. You stopped needing us. You married someone who doesn't bend to us. We thought if we slowed you down." "You could pull me back," Malcolm finished for her. She nodded once. Ariana spoke gently. "That's not protection. That's fear trying to look like love." Terence scoffed. "So we're villains now?" "No," Malcolm said. "You're people who chose control over trust." Silence settled again. Then Malcolm laid out the terms. "My assets are removed from family oversight. No one signs or speaks for me. My marriage is off-limits for commentary. We rebuild trust slowly, or we don't rebuild it at all." His mother's eyes shone with something like grief. "You'd walk away from us?" Malcolm didn't flinch. "I already walked back in after you locked me out. This time, I'm choosing where I stand." Raymond sighed. "And if we don't agree?" Angela spoke for the first time. "Then the legal protections you've already triggered continue. Permanently." That settled it. His mother looked at Malcolm, the son she had once directed, shaped, managed. "Fine," she said quietly. "We'll sign." It wasn't surrender. It was the end of pretending. As they stood to leave, Terence lingered. "I didn't think you'd go this far," he said. Malcolm met his brother's eyes. I didn't think you would either. Outside, the city hummed. Luxury, noise, motion. Ariana slipped her hand into Malcolm's. You okay? She asked. He nodded. I am, he said. For the first time, I didn't argue to be understood. I stated the boundary and let the truth stand. They walked into the night, not victorious, but free. The first thing Malcolm changed wasn't a contract. It was his calendar. No more standing family meetings. No more urgent dinners that were really strategy sessions. No more being available to be managed. He moved his operations team into a new headquarters. Clean lines, open light, access designed with intention. Ariana helped shape the internal culture policy. No side door favors. No private leverage. No blurred lines between personal and professional. People relaxed when rules were clear. At Crestview Estates, Malcolm didn't host power dinners anymore. He turned the formal dining room into a library. Quiet, human, unperformative. The space where influence used to be displayed became a place for thinking and mentoring. The family noticed. They came by sometimes, awkward, unsure where they stood now. Conversations changed. Shorter. More honest. Less controlling. One afternoon, Terence watched Malcolm install a small shelf in the nursery. You're doing this differently, Terence said. Malcolm smiled faintly. I had to. Terence nodded. I wish I'd learned sooner. Malcolm looked at him. You can still learn. Just don't ask us to unlearn our boundaries. Terence accepted that. Not with pride. With relief. Across town, his mother sold the townhouse she used for entertaining donors. Not in shame. In recalibration. Smaller place. Smaller circle. She didn't chase access anymore. She learned to sit with the quiet. That evening, Malcolm and Ariana walked the river path near their building. The skyline reflected in the water like a second city, beautiful, distant, not something they needed to perform for. Malcolm squeezed Ariana's hand. If this is what peace looks like, I'll take it over spectacle every time. Ariana nodded. Peace that's chosen chooses you back. They kept walking into a life built without leverage, without secrets, and without needing permission to be whole. 6 months later, the city felt different. Not quieter. Just kinder to the boundaries Malcolm and Ariana had built. The new headquarters buzzed with clean energy. Glass walls, open light, people working without whisper networks. Malcolm walked the floor, checking in with teams he once only saw in boardrooms. Then the call came. It wasn't from family. It was from a city official tied to a zoning committee, someone Malcolm had supported years earlier when his company was still climbing. Malcolm, the man said, friendly but careful. We're reviewing permits for your waterfront expansion. There's a small issue. What kind of issue? Malcolm asked. A community group filed a concern. Nothing major. But there's a way to smooth it. Malcolm recognized the tone immediately. How? He asked. A pause. Well, the Reed Foundation has influence with that group. If your mother made a call. Malcolm cut him off, politely. No. Another pause. You're saying no to help? I'm saying no to leverage, Malcolm replied. Handle it by the book. The official cleared his throat. That could slow things down. Then we'll wait, Malcolm said. We're not buying silence anymore. He hung up and sat back, exhaling slowly. Ariana noticed his face when he got home. Someone tried to sell you the old way, she said. Yeah, Malcolm replied. Through my family. Ariana poured them tea. You okay with waiting? I am, he said. Speed built on leverage always costs more later. A week later, the family heard about the stalled permits. Terence called. We could fix this with one dinner, he said. Mom still has connections. Malcolm kept his voice calm. We're not borrowing influence to rush fairness. Terence sighed. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No, Malcolm said. I'm making it clean. The permits took longer. There were extra meetings, public hearings, community reviews. Malcolm showed up to each one. He listened. He answered questions. He adjusted plans where the concerns were valid. When approval finally came, it was slower, but solid. No favors owed. No quiet debts waiting to be collected. That night, Malcolm and Ariana stood on their balcony, the city lights steady below. You chose the long road, Ariana said. Malcolm smiled. The long road is only long when you're trying to outrun your values. Across town, his mother watched a news segment about transparent development processes. The Reed Foundation wasn't mentioned. For the first time, she felt irrelevant to Malcolm's success. Not because he didn't love her, but because he didn't need her leverage anymore. And somehow, that truth hurt less than she expected. The call came late. Malcolm was halfway through reading in bed when Ariana's phone lit up on the nightstand. Terrence. She glanced at Malcolm before answering. What's wrong? Ariana asked. Terrence's voice was tight. It's Mom. She collapsed at a board dinner. They took her to St. Grace Medical. Malcolm was already sitting up. Is she conscious? Barely, Terrence said. They think it's blood pressure. Stress. Malcolm closed his eyes for a moment. Life had a cruel sense of timing. I'm on my way, he said. At the hospital, the air smelled of antiseptic and quiet prayers. Malcolm walked the corridor like someone returning to a place he had sworn never to revisit. His mother lay pale against white sheets, monitors blinking softly. His father wasn't there. Long separated, long absent. Terrence stood near the window, hands in his pockets. Raymond sat, shoulders slumped. She opened her eyes when Malcolm stepped closer. You came, she whispered. Yes, Malcolm replied. For you. Her gaze flicked to Ariana, then away. I don't want lawyers here, she murmured. Malcolm's voice was gentle but firm. They're not here. Neither is leverage. Just me. She exhaled, the fight draining out of her. I don't know how to stop trying to control what I'm afraid to lose. Ariana spoke softly. You don't have to control him to love him. His mother's eyes filled, not with apology, but with something close to it. Later, in the hallway, Terrence leaned against the wall. Help us stabilize things, he said quietly. Just temporarily. The foundation. The properties. The donors. We're drowning. Malcolm studied his brother's face, tired, honest, used to leaning on old systems. I'll help, Malcolm said. But not by taking control back. I'll help you build systems that don't need me. Terrence frowned. That's not the same. It's better, Malcolm replied. It means you won't need leverage when I'm not around. That night, Malcolm and Ariana sat in the hospital's quiet lounge. You didn't fold, Ariana said. I didn't harden either, Malcolm replied. I showed up without giving my life back. She squeezed his hand. That's growth. Outside, ambulances came and went. Inside, something else was happening. The old pattern reached for him. And he met it with presence. Not permission. The morning after the hospital visit, the family gathered in the quiet room outside Malcolm's mother's ward. No lawyers. No board members. No donors waiting to be impressed. Just people who had finally felt how fragile power really was. His mother looked smaller in the hospital robe, her voice softer than Malcolm remembered. I don't want to run things the way I used to, she said. I'm tired of gripping everything so tightly. Malcolm listened without interrupting. Terrence nodded slowly. We've been building systems that depend on pressure. When pressure fails, everything collapses. Raymond exhaled. We mistook access for loyalty. Malcolm spoke carefully. If we're going to keep any relationship, it has to be clean. No access to my assets. No acting on my behalf. No using my name to solve problems. His mother met his eyes. "And if we struggle?" "I'll advise," Malcolm said. "I won't rescue. You'll build resilience without borrowing my life." She nodded, tears slipping free this time. "That's fair." Over the next weeks, things shifted. The foundation hired independent governance. The properties were restructured with transparent oversight. The family learned to ask instead of assume. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward silences, missed invitations, moments when old habits tried to slip back in. But the rules were clear now. One evening, Malcolm and Ariana hosted a small dinner at their place. No donors. No speeches. Just simple food, soft music, and room for real conversation. His mother noticed the difference. "This feels lighter," she said. Malcolm smiled. "It is. There's nothing to perform here." Later, when everyone had gone, Malcolm and Ariana stood on the balcony, city lights reflecting in the glass. "You still think I was being manipulated by my family?" Malcolm asked softly, half smiling. Ariana laughed. "No. I think I was scared of losing you to them. But we chose each other anyway." He pulled her into a hug. Outside, luxury still existed. Noise still existed. Power still existed. Inside, there was something rarer. A life built without leverage. A home that chose him back. And a future that didn't require silence to survive. Peace came with a price. 2 weeks after Malcolm drew his boundaries, a major investor quietly pulled out of a joint venture. The reason given was vague, strategic realignment, but the message behind it was loud. The investor had been close to the Reed Foundation. The old network didn't like losing shortcuts. Malcolm read the email in his office, then leaned back in his chair. "They're punishing you for not playing the old game," Ariana said. "Yeah," Malcolm replied. They preferred access over integrity. The project delay meant layoffs might follow if Malcolm didn't move fast. He called his leadership team into the conference room. Glass walls, open notes, no closed-door politics. "We lost a partner," he said. "Not because the project is weak, but because we refused leverage. We can cut corners to replace the money, or we can build trust to replace the money." The room was quiet. Then a young director spoke up. "If we go clean, it'll take longer. But we'll sleep better." A few heads nodded. Malcolm smiled faintly. "Then we go clean." They reworked timelines. They opened the books to new partners. They pitched the project publicly, with transparency baked in. It took weeks. But something unexpected happened. Smaller firms leaned in. Community-backed funds showed interest. A values-driven investor group approached with slower money, but steadier expectations. The deal closed without favors. That night, Malcolm and Ariana cooked together. Burned rice, over-seasoned chicken, laughter filling the kitchen. "You regret it?" Ariana teased. "Not even a little," Malcolm said. "Turns out peace filters your partnerships." Across town, Terrence watched the investor news quietly. He realized the old shortcuts were drying up. For the first time, the family had to build credibility instead of cashing in on it. And the cost of peace? It wasn't loss. It was choosing a future that wouldn't sell itself cheap. The call came from someone Malcolm hadn't heard from in years. Darius Cole, the former investor who once laughed at Malcolm's early pitch and told him, "Come back when you're less emotional and more realistic." Now his voice was smooth. "Heard you're doing things the hard way these days." Malcolm smiled faintly. "I'm doing them the clean way." Darius chuckled. "Clean doesn't scale fast. I've got a bridge deal that solves your expansion problem overnight." They met at a private lounge overlooking the city. Leather booths, low lights, power whispered through polished surfaces. Darius slid a folder across the table. "Fast capital. No committees. No public review. Just you and me." Malcolm skimmed the terms. The money was real. The speed was tempting. The clause buried in fine print wasn't. "What's the catch?" Malcolm asked. Darius leaned back. Access. Your family's foundation still opens doors. I want that network attached. Quietly. Malcolm closed the folder. I'm not renting my last name anymore, he said. Darius's smile tightened. You're turning down easy money. I'm turning down expensive money, Malcolm replied. Darius scoffed. You'll come back. Everyone does. Malcolm stood. Not everyone. As he walked out, he felt the familiar pull of old validation. The quick yes, the shortcut that looked like belonging. Outside, the city lights felt honest again. At home, Ariana listened, then smiled. You chose the long road twice, she said. Malcolm exhaled. It's getting easier. A week later, the expansion passed public review. Slower, scrutinized, clean. No borrowed influence. No hidden favors. Just work that stood on its own. Malcolm wrote a note for his leadership team and pinned it in the conference room. We don't scale values down to scale faster. The past had made its last offer, and Malcolm had chosen the future that wouldn't ask him to come back to being owned. Malcolm didn't plan to become an example, but examples happen when people notice consistency. At a leadership workshop hosted by the city's Innovation Council, a young founder stood up during Q&A. How do you deal with family that wants control over your business? She asked, voice tight with nerves. The room went quiet. Malcolm didn't posture. He didn't dramatize. Forgiveness is personal, he said. Boundaries are practical. You can do one without the other. The answer traveled. Clipped into short videos. Quoted in newsletters. Shared in founder circles where people whispered about family pressure and quiet leverage. Messages began to land in Malcolm's inbox. Thank you for saying what we can't say. I thought I was disloyal for setting limits. Your story helped me stop signing things I didn't understand. The foundation noticed the shift too. Donors asked about governance. Boards asked for transparency. Clean systems became a phrase people used out loud. Terrence watched the trend with mixed feelings. We used to move faster, he admitted to Malcolm one afternoon. We used to move quieter, Malcolm replied. That's not the same thing. The Reed Foundation adopted independent oversight publicly. The announcement was small but symbolic. Across the city, a community developer reached out to Malcolm's team. We want to build without side doors, she said. Your model helps. Malcolm approved the partnership, not because it was perfect, because it was honest. That evening, Malcolm passed the old estate. New owners. Different cars. Laughter behind the gate. He didn't stop. He didn't feel anger. He didn't feel loss. He felt distance, the healthy kind. At home, Ariana waited with dinner. His phone buzzed, a message from Terrence. They're settling into a smaller place. It's humbling. Maybe good for them. Malcolm typed back. I hope they find peace. I'm building mine. He set the phone down and joined Ariana at the table. Luxury still existed outside. Noise still existed outside. Inside, there was something rarer. A life built without leverage. A home that chose him back. And a future that didn't require silence to survive. 1 year later, Malcolm didn't recognize the man he used to be. Not because he had changed his style or lost his taste for beautiful things, but because access no longer decided his peace. The new headquarters thrived, steady growth, transparent systems, no shadow deals. The waterfront project stood finished, sunlight moving across glass and steel like a quiet promise kept. Malcolm walked the space with Ariana, hands brushing as they moved through rooms that had once been drawings and patience. We built this without borrowing silence, Ariana said. And without renting our name, Malcolm replied. The city invited Malcolm to speak at a civic forum on ethical development. He accepted, not as a power move, but as a responsibility. On stage, he said only this. Power doesn't come from who lets you in. It comes from knowing when to walk out and build your own door. The applause wasn't loud. It was real. After the forum, Malcolm's mother waited near the exit. No entourage. No donors. Just her. I'm learning to sit with smaller rooms, she said quietly. Malcolm nodded. Smaller rooms can be honest. She hesitated. I'm proud of you. He smiled. Soft. Unguarded. Thank you. They didn't rewrite the past. They chose not to relive it. That night, Malcolm and Ariana walked the river path near their building. The skyline reflected in the water like a second city, beautiful, distant, not something they needed to perform for. Malcolm squeezed Ariana's hand. If this is what peace looks like, I'll take it over spectacle every time. Ariana nodded. Peace that's chosen chooses you back. They kept walking into a life built without leverage, without secrets, and without needing permission to be whole.